Hi folks, it's been quite a while since I've done a video blog and I kind of wanted to shake it up a little bit, so here we go. First of all, I want to really thank you folks for almost 3,000 views. That means a lot to me. It's very cool to get that kind of support. Secondly, I want you to notice that I set up Facebook and Twitter accounts for the page, so if you want to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, they're on that side of the page. You should see them right there. So, for the first time, I recently felt very proud to live in Minnesota. Before this experience, if someone would have asked me, "Are you proud to be a Minnesotan?" I would have been surprised at the question. I don't know if I would have answered it. I don't know, maybe. Why? Who cares? What's so special about Minnesota? But as many of you may know, Minnesota recently became the first state in the country to refuse to pass a Defense of Marriage Act style amendment to our state constitution that defines marriage between one man and one woman. We refuse to define marriage constitutionally that way. Now, in the state, is same-sex marriage legal? No, it's still illegal by statute. But I think that refusing to pass the amendment sort of made a statement about who we are as a state, and we refuse to make that as permanent as a constitutional amendment would have made it. So this was really inspiring and made me sort of hopeful for the way things are going. I think we're moving in the right direction as a country, and I wanted to sort of create this blog and mix in some videos to show that I think we're going the right way. First, I want to start out by taking a look at where we used to be.
That looks innocent enough, doesn't it? Lots of young people hitchhike. Seems like a good way to get from one place to another. But sometimes there are dangers involved that never meet the eye. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful if they are too friendly. One never knows when the homosexual is about. Let's take the case of Jimmy Barnes. Jimmy played baseball all afternoon and he didn't feel like walking home, so he decided to thumb a ride. He'd done it 100 times before, and he didn't think anything was unusual when the driver struck up a friendly conversation. In fact, he seemed like a real nice guy. What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious, a sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a homosexual, a person who demands an intimate relationship with members of their own sex. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful if they are too friendly, if they try to win your confidence too quickly, and if they become overly personal. One never knows when the homosexual is about. He may appear normal.
Scientists at the National Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta today released the results of a study which shows that the lifestyle of some male homosexuals has triggered an epidemic of a rare form of cancer.
So when I watch those videos, I'm sort of stunned to think back and we used to think that way about a group of people. Our president recently came out in favor of same-sex marriage. He also ended the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, which was the military's policy of we don't care if you're gay, we just don't want to know about it if you're serving.
We should not be punishing patriotic Americans who have stepped forward to serve this country. We should be celebrating their willingness to show such courage and selflessness on behalf of their fellow citizens, especially when we're fighting two wars. We cannot afford to cut from our ranks people with the critical skills we need to fight, any more than we can afford for our military's integrity to force those willing to do so into careers encumbered and compromised by having to live a lie. So I'm working with the Pentagon, its leadership, and the members of the House and Senate on ending this policy. Legislation has been introduced in the House to make this happen. I will end Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That's my commitment to you.
At a certain point, I've just concluded that, for me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
We recently had our first gay senator elected to represent Wisconsin. Like I mentioned earlier, Minnesota voted down the constitutional amendment to define marriage as between one man and one woman in our state. California's Proposition 8, which defined marriage between one man and one woman, is currently being reviewed by the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a decision on it in their next term. A federal appeals court judge in New York recently declared a similar constitutional amendment unconstitutional. So it'll be interesting to see if the Supreme Court follows that court's logic. I've long thought that this was a defining issue of our time. I really think this is going to go down in history, and that our generation is going to be defined by how we choose to treat these people. In my opinion, I don't think we have anywhere to go but forward. I don't see us going backwards. In fact, I do see us making progress towards a brighter, more equal future for these folks. I know not everybody's on board yet, but it's going to take time. I want to thank you all for your hard work, the people that have contributed to this effort, and hopefully lots of people that watch this have contributed to this effort. I think what all these things that I've covered say is that your efforts now are too big to ignore. So congratulations. Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix blame for the past. Let us seek to accept our own responsibility for the future.